Hello and welcome to the Far Cry speedrunning tutorial. I'm Leko and I'm going to be explaining a lot to help you understand how things work and everything that I think you should know about the game before you speedrun it. If you're just starting out, I recommend you watch the whole video. Otherwise, I'll be putting up time codes in the description to help you navigate through quickly. I wanted to make this for a while now, but it's pretty time consuming and there's a lot of ground to cover. That being said, I hope you find things useful and enjoy. Okay, so the first thing I will mention is the difference between versions of Far Cry. Which one should you get? If you want to submit a run, any official version or patch is fine. Although Steam and GOG versions of the game do not have any differences because they're both patches 1.4, the retail version on earlier patches does. This is a chart of perks and flaws of 1.4 compared to earlier patches. As you can see, 1.4 has reduced fall damage. Doors require pressing the use key to open, and the NPCs can shoot you through tents and some walls, while the earlier patches have it the other way around. Since the run is the way it is at this point, I would recommend 1.4 because we would not be able to complete some skips with insane fall damage, and we don't encounter many problematic enemies. Also, as of this point, we don't allow GOG's AI fix that makes enemies not shoot through walls. Now that you figured out which version you will run, let's move to setting graphics up. I want to mention how this game gets cropped. The more widescreen your resolution is, the less screen you actually see. Every resolution that is not in 5:4 aspect ratio is a cutout of it. I stick to 4:3 because 16:9 actually feels very zoomed in. So take your pick. Launch the game, and if you get the Far Cry configurator, just click OK. In the main menu, go to Options. Now you want to make sure that machine spec is set to very high, because it can cause problems with the physics of a bridge in the level river that we need to drive through in the run. As you can see, if machine spec is not very high, the bridge doesn't have proper collision, causing you to just crash into it rather than skip over it. Another thing you want to set up is skipping additional objects. From the Options menu, navigate to Video Options and Advanced Options. Make sure the environment quality is set to low. This helps with a couple of things during the run. Most importantly, it skips spawning an additional barricade in the auto-scroller in Level Swamp. You also want to set your water quality to medium, because on low it's not transparent. This is a good time to set your controls and mouse sensitivity up. This being completely subjective, I'll just recommend that your weapon binds don't interfere too much with your movement. Once you're done with the controls, we're ready to move on. This game's default cutscene skip key is space, and that actually causes you to jump every time you skip a cutscene, losing a bit of stamina in the process. We don't want that. That's why we changed that to W instead. Quit the game and locate where your Far Cry is installed. If you have Steam, you can do this. Go to Browse Local Files. When you located game.cfg, open it up, scroll to the very end, and you want to find this last line that says spacebar is the skip cutscene key. Replace spacebar with W. Then just save that file, open Properties, and check Read Only. This will prevent the game from reverting your skip cutscene back to default. But keep in mind that you won't be able to change controls in-game while this file is read-only. If you want to change your controls again, uncheck this read-only box, change the controls, quit the game, and come back to put W instead of spacebar and check read-only again. Okay, now you're almost set up. Let me show you how to use developer mode. You might need this for testing out some things. To run developer mode, make a shortcut of your farcry.exe file located in the bin32 folder. I like to rename it so that I know what I'm dealing with. Go to Properties, and at the end of Target, add this space dash dev mode. apply, OK. And then you can run the game and check if it's really entered dev mode. Just pop the console and you should see dev mode is enabled. Also, here are some very useful binds that you will be able to use during dev mode, which makes testing things a lot easier. Let's move on to the actual gameplay now. I'll demonstrate the main movement mechanics that we use. Like most other FPS games, you can move in 4 directions: sprint, jump, crouch, and go prone. In this game, you can also walk, and sometimes that can be useful because it drains less stamina while climbing hills. You can also strafe jump. It basically works a bit different than regular strafe jumping because in order to make it work, you have to jump while sprinting and start strafing mid-air. There are 2 types of strafe jumps that we use, and they are each suitable for different situations: regular and multi-strafe jumps. Regular strafe jumps work like this: sprint forward, jump, hold left, and move mouse to the left like this. Same works for right. Multi-strafe jumps work like this: sprint forward, jump, move mouse about 90 degrees left or right with a steady motion. Keep in mind, while doing regular strafe jumps, you can see where you're going better and be more precise about your movement. Also, this game has a stamina bar, so its proper management is a very important part of the run. Alright, that should be all you need for now, so let's start learning the route. The first thing you should do is sprint until this point. Then there are 2 routes you can take here. This harder one saves about 0.7 seconds. If you're not top 3 on the leaderboard, you should definitely avoid this for now. Don't be prematurely petty. Use strats that are easy and work consistently. I'll be showing every strat that I know and every little time save that I use, but I'll be marking them with yes or no depending on their difficulty and how much time they save, to recommend if you should or should not do them. By the way, always sprint up ladders. Also, you do not need the extra ammo for the pistol here. We crouch in this doorway to replenish a little bit of our stamina because we have to wait for it to open anyway. Then there's this big pen boost that we do, but you should avoid that for now. It's just not worth to continuously reset over 3 seconds lost in a run this long if you already don't have a really good time on the leaderboard. Plus, it's much more convenient to take the ammo off of this guy than off the shelves earlier. Save your stamina in this part. Now do a strafe jump here, and then sprint into the water so you get a little movement boost. And now you just swim to replenish your stamina. Also, you can stand up in shallow water by pressing either space or prone. Now you want to stay hidden in these bushes and keep an eye on your alert meter to not get spotted until you almost get in the car.
Did you see something? Get that guy!
If your buggy gets shot to around 50% health while exiting the camp, just take the other buggy because the first one will explode.
This whole deal gets stranger by the minute. You don't know the half of it.
As you can see, the best way to shoot is burst fire, and the best way to steer is slightly tapping left or right. I like to shoot the gunner of that 4WD. that M4 guy there, and these two guys. Because if you let them live, they can shoot up your buggy easily.
All right, Doyle, I've spotted the carrier.
Alternatively, to not switch vehicles, you can take this route around the hill instead of going over it. If you don't get shot too much though, you can take the fastest route because you won't be detouring or switching vehicles. Going through these trees is kind of a risky maneuver, plus it doesn't really save much time, so you should avoid it for now. Even though you switched vehicles, you can still complete training in under 3 minutes, which is pretty good. Remember to switch seats before you exit the buggy and end the level.
Fire in the hole!
There's also a possibility to clip into the carrier when approaching the end, but that happens very rarely and only saves maybe half a second. Skip the cutscene, dive, get the machete, go up the ladder, and just sprint. Then strafe left. If you're having trouble with this strafe, just go around the pillar like this. Open the door and kill one dude and take his M4. If you repeatedly get killed though, kill them both instead. Now, always have enough stamina here for 2 jumps. Go up the ladder. Then there's a skip that saves around 5 seconds here, but it can be unpredictable for beginners, and it's just not worth it. Take this route instead. The top of these stairs can get you easily stuck, so jump over it. Now you absolutely have to learn this skip. Get rid of the metal by hitting it with a machete or shooting it. Crouch and look at the ledge at an angle. Hold forward, and when you feel you can't go further, look at the edge at a 90-degree angle and prone. Then hold forward and left and you should make it across. Keep in mind, this skip is faster on low FPS. Get the armor here if you need it. You'll probably have to practice this jump a bit so you don't get stuck on the railing. Just don't be too close to it when you jump. Then sprint and stand in this spot and shoot the back chain first. And when the boat swings towards you, shoot the front one. After that, just take the dinghy and head directly towards that little island. Kill the heli gunner if he's shooting at you, but don't waste too much ammo. Shoot both guys if you can. If not, leave the pistol guy alive and grab the patrol boat. Drive towards the buggy and try to take out 2 guys with a machine gun and hit the other 2 with the boat. The one to the right is the least dangerous one because he only has a pistol. Drive around this rock and towards the hill like this. If you don't have too much momentum climbing the hill and it feels like you're gonna get stuck on it, quickly release forward and hold it again. This one just requires a lot of practice. If you didn't make it up with the car fully, you can always just run to the end of the level, costing you about 40 seconds. And then you just jump into the end level trigger between these 2 plants. Sprint to the hang glider. Start flying, but don't steer. Leap a little bit and then climb. Forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. This way you can maintain your height infinitely. Play around with flying the hang glider because you'll need it in another level as well. When the heli starts coming towards you, he can either come directly at you or he can go away. Either way, you gotta shoot the gunner. Your best bet is to temporarily stabilize the hang glider to shoot him and then continue gliding up and down. If you don't, he will either make you fall off the hang glider, like this, or he will just follow you for a long time until he eventually shoots you dead, because you can't turn around completely while hang gliding. Only steer when you're going down and just slightly tap left or right, otherwise it's very easy to lose control. You only need to kill that sniper there. Then take care not to fly too much to the right, because there's a kill trigger there, so if you fly into it you will just die. But don't go too far left either, because you will spawn the rocket launcher guy in the metal guard tower, and that mostly ends up like this. Let's quickly bring up the editor. You want to be flying into this sweet spot where I'm pointing my cursor between this kill trigger and the save point on the left above this tree. Try and kill both snipers so that they don't shoot your buggy and destroy it too early. If you can't, try and at least kill the left one, because he's more likely to shoot your vehicle. If you are a bit too slow hang gliding in this section or have bad RNG, this helicopter will notice you and start following you. If he does that, just slow down, turn around and shoot the gunner. Obviously, you want to have him not follow you at all, like this. Then there are two routes that you can take. This first one is pretty easy. You just have to learn the terrain to not crash anywhere and to be as fast as possible. I like to blow this barrel up so I don't get stuck on any boxes. When you get closer to the end, kill all the guys at the pier first. Then cross this line and just wait for Doyle to pick you up. You can also go here and sneak through the bushes from these guys and get the rocket launcher that you will use to do the control skip later, which I don't recommend yet. If you let them see you, there's a chance you will get an attack heli on your tail, which is an invincible helicopter that will follow you and kill you instantly once it shoots. I didn't manage to get his attention for the video, which is a good thing, but I'll demonstrate what it can do by throwing a rock to bait it. As you can see, he just immediately owned me. Avoiding that should not be too hard on easy difficulty. Then this driving just takes some practice to be done optimally. Notice how I'm holding down spacebar while exiting the car. That basically prevents the car from rolling downhill by pulling the handbrake. Then you should be careful not to lose too much buggy health on the next slope, because there's a chance the enemies at the end will blow your buggy up. This level is quite short. First, sprint until you're out of stamina.
The other side? They have a radar observation center there that would have spotted us. You'll have better luck cutting through the research facilities. What kind of research?
Then you can kind of surf here a little bit like this.
For anything moving, and if you see anything that looks dangerous, well, it is.
Swim until your stamina is about 40% full, and then stand up in shallow water. Don't sprint anymore. Now you want to kill these two guys. And then you want to kill two more guys, either by throwing a nade like I do, or just by gunning them down. Now you can do this skip slightly slower but safer like this. You strafe jump into this uphill line, hold forward until you stop, Sprint uphill while only holding forward and climb onto this little checkpoint by moving the mouse to the right. And then just do the same thing until you're up here. Or you can do the faster version. Repeat the same thing, but climb right away from this point. Don't press left or right, only use forward and mouse movement. Otherwise, you're just going to fall off. Then just learn this terrain properly so you don't get stuck anywhere. I use the textures for reference. You can sprint uphill here until your stamina is half full. Then jump into this slope to negate all the fall damage, and then leap into this slope like this. If you don't clip into the room through the wall, you should end up underneath the room like this. If that happens, just jump to get yourself out and end the level.